All right. Good evening. Pre-happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Hope everybody is making their final plans, have made that last grocery run. Because if you like me, I hate lines. And so if you haven't gotten it by now, you probably want to start planning Thanksgiving without it. But we want to welcome you guys to another episode of Unfiltered Kings of the Queen podcast, man. We can find us on all social media platforms. You can also find us everywhere now where you can find your favorite podcast. We have recently came to the platform of Apple Podcast, so that's a huge undertaking. So we're glad with that, along with the Spotify's, the YouTube, and things of that sort. And so, if you haven't done so already, please go out in those communities and follow us. We want to make sure that we bring great content to wherever you watch your podcast. And so tonight, man, of course, I would call her a guest, but I'm like, she's more like family now, She's been on here before discussing the topic during September of suicide awareness and done a phenomenal job with that. And so tonight, we have the esteemed Dr. Nichelle Chandler back with us for tonight's topic. Welcome, Nichelle. How are you tonight? She's so excited. She didn't put herself on mute. Now we want to hear everything you got to say. Hold on. There we go.
You're right. I am excited. It's so funny that you mentioned that we're family now, because I was going to say the exact same thing. I hope you know that. Like,
yeah,
it feels it, So,
yeah.
But yeah, and I'm honored to be back again. I had so much fun the first time, so. I know tonight is going to be just as good.
Well, look, I am happy to have you here. And look, if you all haven't done so already, give yourself a treat, an early Christmas present. Go and follow this lady on social media. The gems she drops are definitely inspiring. They're definitely conversational. And in all honesty, they are conversations that I think we were talking offline. There are conversations that we usually avoid in society, but they're kind of like the one tonight. They're usually the ones that is past time to have. And so if you haven't done so already, look her up on social media and definitely give her a follow. You won't be disappointed. Julio Chavez, he's already jumped in and said, hi, man. I'm glad to have you, man. I think first time participant. So thank you for having us here. Thank you for joining us here. Tonight's going to be a real good topic, you guys. Holiday toxicity, when it goes beyond fun and laughter. Now, this is the season to be blissful and to be joy. Tis the season to be given. And we know there's a lot of wonderful things around this time of year, right? No matter what's going on, no matter how bad other times have been, this has always been coined, Nichelle, as the season to be giving. And, everything is happy and it's fluffy. And hopefully by the end of our conversation, we're going to realize that that's just not reality, right? And so we're going to kind of break that down. Now, I do want to give a disclaimer because I was thinking about this, Nichelle, as we were talking about doing this topic. We're not playing the Scrooges here, right? We're just going to drop some reality, right? Like, look, we all for holidays and getting together for whatever that means for people who celebrate. But I do think there is a very nuanced and serious conversation where two things can be true at one time. So I want people to coin this as the Scrooge episode of Unfiltered Kings and the Queen podcast. But definitely in talking about holiday toxicity, I think Nichelle is going to lend some great advice for us. What are some nuances that we probably don't talk about, realize, or even pay attention to? And then more important, what can we do to bring that to the forefront and have that conversation without compromising what we say we do during the holiday, whatever that looks like in your household. But look, before we get started, man, I kind of want to not necessarily play a game, but kind of let the audience get to know us a little bit more, Nichelle, right? Because I think a lot of times we just kind of jump in with good information. But I want to kind of just reminisce on your experience for the holidays, how they look. And I know it looks differently in different people's household. But I just have a couple of questions just to kind of let the audience get to know you. And the first one is, What is a holiday tradition that you participate in purely out of guilt? Like it,
Ooh.
if you had your way, that you would rather be anywhere, but you just kind of okay, been there, done that. That's how it is, and you just kind of go along with it.
Probably cooking. um,
No.
yeah, yeah. I know. Before we started, we talked about how I was assigned the task of baking a sweet potato pie. Um,
Mm,
and so that would probably be it. I'm not a big baker, so I shouldn't say cooking. I would say maybe baking is not my forte. So anytime
mm,
I'm assigned desserts, I'm not the most enthusiastic about it, but yeah, but at the same time, I do it and I go along with it. We're talking what, a couple of holidays out of a year. So yeah, and I would. You're right. I would feel a little guilty saying
right,
no. So
right.
I oblige. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I'm trying to make sure we get our first time guest in. This is Jackson Kelly. Hey y'all, like DL, like what did like the cheese? I don't know what that reference is. But okay. Thank you for joining us. Man, look, I feel like I'm giving a disclaimer to everything tonight, Nichelle, so forgive me.
No.
But seriously, and we're gonna really talk about this holiday toxicity, but I think mine is, and this may sound horrible, is no, like the cheese. Okay, Jackson Kelly. Well, man, look, nice for you to join us, man. Appreciate you taking time. Mine is being around people. Like, think about, like, sometimes usually those are the only time that you have time to get away and relax, other than the typical weekend, but our weekend can get busy. So a lot of time around those times, things usually slow down, and sometimes I just want to kind of lay back and not be bothered, right? I love being able to see my family. Usually people are off and things of that sort. So that's always good. But if I'm being honest and answering the question, sometimes if I know them days are off and no work, it's like, yeah, can I let me live, put on a nice little movie to binge and be on about my business.
Okay, a moment of transparency. Honestly, when when you first asked that question, I almost said showing up. 'Cause, I
Yeah,
mean, but yeah, sometimes showing up can be a little difficult because, like
yeah,
you said, you just kind of, yeah. And I'm an introvert, so crowds and lots of socializing and sometimes can drain me. So
yeah,
it can feel like work sometimes. So yeah.
yeah. And I think that's going to get us, we won't segue now, but I think we're going to talk about that. When we use that word, it's almost like those two words are an oxymoron, holiday and toxicity. But I think as we kind of peer into what you're alluding to, hopefully people have a greater appreciation of how do those two words land beside each other. The second question I have is, what is the most passive aggressive gift you've ever received or witnessed? Again, it's one of those things where you can't, come when usually people give you a gift, you're supposed to smile and think, but really was kind of like, nah, that wasn't it. You know,
Right.
you don't have to put names and stuff like that because people are watching. But have you ever witnessed it or experienced it yourself?
A passive aggressive gift.
Yeah, just the idea of the gift. Like, how can I?
That's it. I have to really think about that one.
Like, and I hate to sound leading, but I think these days, like, gift giving has taken on a way lower meaning to where it's almost just transactional. There's no
Right.
thought. It's almost like we tell each other what we want. Hey, what do you want for Christmas? Okay, got it for Christmas. I mean, it's like, where's the genuineness in that? So that's what I meant about where it's like there's no feeling to it. Like when you got it, was just more like, okay, I could have got this myself, or it's just so transactional to where
Oh well, and not to poop on people who do gift cards, but that kind of stands out.
Mhm.
But It's so good. I'm okay with a gift card, but yeah, that definitely feels less personal for sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some might even say thoughtless, but I can see pros and cons, especially with me. I'm one who, I'm not big on receiving gifts because
Mm-hmm.
I just never have been.
Mm-hmm.
A gift card, I'm okay with a gift card because, hey, I can do whatever I want to do with it. So,
Right, right.
what about you?
I think with me and man, this is I hope my women gender don't come at me for this, but it's true. Like I'm not big on gifts either. I'm like you. Like,
Yeah.
but if I am, it's like if it's genuine, right? Like it don't have to
Right.
be random. It could be again, like if you know I'm a writer, right? If it could be a journal, or a
Right.
nice pen. Like to me, that would like that about me. But with that being said, I think the experience of the low expectation because I'm a man, like,
Oh, really?
kind of like, you really didn't, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're a guy, you really don't need anything, or hey, you should just like this. And it's like, effort is cool. Effort
Right.
is good on me. Like,
Right.
I don't have to be a woman to appreciate that. And so to me, it's like my mama always said I wear my expression on my face. And so even in that awkward exchange of the gift, it's kind of like you have to kind of force it on, and it's like deep down you're like, you know. And sometimes there's the audacity to explain it, to tell you, like, yeah, I figured you wouldn't care. It's like, okay,
uh,
yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing is like when it's transactional.
right.
Like I said, you could do certain things for yourself and whatnot, and then it's like, how am I supposed to fake this
Right.
space just to make you feel good about something you didn't do, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
Oh, I think I look no comment, so I think I got that off my chest. Well,
You
moving
think you're
on.
safe?
Hey,
Okay.
while I still got followed, I may want to check in later. Circle back. Okay, so my last one, man, before we kind of jump off into this conversation tonight. And if you guys just joining, this is kind of like our pre-holiday episode. Actually, our last episode, believe it or not, tier for the year. We want to kind of set it down and allow people to enjoy their holiday. We will be posting from our season 1 to season 5. We'll be posting things out there, so don't hesitate to continue to follow us, continue to dialogue, inboxes, things of that sort. We just want to make sure that we have let everybody enjoy their holiday. So tonight we're talking about holiday toxicity, when it goes beyond the fun and the laughter, And so we know, like we said on the onset, this is the time where everybody's in a happy mood, giving mood, and things of that sort. But what about that sector of people that we're going to identify where it's almost like they're forced into this situation? What do we do with them? Do they have a voice in the matter? And so we'll be talking about that tonight. But before we get to that topic, the last question I have, and again, Nichelle, thank you. Like at first, I thought these were just going to be a little tough and difficult, but you kind of flying off the handle. So okay. Um, if you could cancel one aspect of the holidays forever without consequence, what would it be? And again, you guys, we're not being the Scrooges here. So like I got to keep putting that out there. But if you could cancel one aspect of the holidays forever without consequence, no
Ooh,
one knew you did it. You just had the power to say, okay, I'm gonna change that or cancel that. What do you think it would be?
ooh, that's a tough one. Hmm.
Although that wasn't the intention, I feel like yes, I got one. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow, you got one. You might have to go first on that. Well, I think because we might be here a while.
um, I I think with me, without giving the conversation away, is the rush to create memories instead of capturing moments.
Okay.
I think it's so easy for us just to do the traditional thing, and it's like, okay, you got to, well, you're going to remember that, right? We remember holidays, but sometimes it becomes so robotic, and we'll talk about this later. It's like when those people are missed, or you have people who are not there, unfortunately through death or whatever. Now those moments are sought after, like you can't get it anymore. You only can create another memory, right? Which you can do that any day.
Right.
And so I think
Right.
for all intents and purposes of the time for family and friends, it's like really capture those moments, because from year to year or holiday to holiday, it may look differently. So I think that would be
Right.
my biggest thing, instead of just the memories. Hey, this what you
Hmm.
had the turkey side, da, da, da. It's like, oh, done, ate them all, right? When it comes
Right. Right. Right.
to that, but capture those little nuances, those moments.
Right. Yeah,
That would be
nothing's
my
come to
thing.
mind
So
yet. I'll have to let you know maybe at some point if something comes up. Yeah.
yeah, and if you don't have one, like that's perfectly fine. Like I just wanted to open up with those questions to kind of get the audience to kind of peer inside our minds and thought process during this holiday season and what have you. And if you guys have any questions, any answers to those questions, I'll read them again. Drop them in the comments. What is a holiday tradition that you participate in purely out of guilt? You just kind of go along to get along. What is the most passive aggressive gift you've ever received or witnessed? Make sure you don't do any name droppings, man. Unfiltered King and the Queen podcast is not responsible for any. Got to get that disclaimer. And then if of the holidays forever without consequence, what would that be? And so, yeah, leave your answers in the comments. So what I did, Nichelle, I broke this down with by phases. But what I want to do, I want to kind of bring those up the rear. I want to give you the platform and just open up the conversation before I go into these phases of this conversation. Because of course, this term, for disclosure, I borrowed it, excuse me, from you on your what tick on. I first saw it on TikTok. Holiday toxicity. Could you make that plain for the audience? Like, what was your thoughts process behind the things of that sort, and what that means for you as we continue to use that term throughout tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first, I want to really commend you for bringing forward this topic because, like you said, I mean, around the holidays, people don't typically want to hear what they might view as negativity, but it's actually reality. You know, I've been a therapist for a couple of decades, so about 20 years, and toxicity is a niche that found me. And I make that clear a lot because people tend to think sometimes that you're talking about toxicity because your life is filled with toxicity. But this was born out of it's what constantly showed up in my therapy practices over and over and over again. And so, having said that, if I sit back and give thought to one of the number one sources of toxicity, it's within family. So not necessarily those
Mm,
romantic relationships like we like to think. I would say an overwhelming majority of the people I work with, they are dealing with family toxicity. So the term toxicity you can negativity, I think would maybe be the most basic term that people can identify with and relate to. So yeah, negativity.
okay, okay. Well, look, that I think I'm hopeful that opens the door. I know we were kind of joking earlier, but I'm hoping that opens the door and kind of paint a picture in which this conversation can actually stand on. Anything where there's good intentions, where it can become toxic, whether that's intentional or unintentional. And to me, Nichelle, I think the unintentionality is even worse because usually when you can see it, there's an opportunity to blame. But when it's normalized and you kind of force the person to the left or the right, you go along with it. I'm looking forward and kind of peering into your your brain, so to speak, a little bit more as we kind of break down this holiday toxicity. So, the first phase I've entitled as the perfect trap, right? Expectations versus reality. And with this phase, we're going to talk about why we feel pressure in the first place. Um, and I saw a term as I was doing my research on this show. It's called the Hallmark hangover, right? It's where
Mhm.
everything should feel good. You know, Hallmark's supposed to make you feel good, and the whole 9 yards. You get the card, and you're supposed to feel good with the card. But
Right.
why do you think there's pressure in the first place? Like, if the holiday season called for all this and the whole 9 yards, why do you think? Why do you think we go out our way to try to go overboard and do it, if that makes sense? Like, why do we feel we have to control that narrative? If the whole goal to getting together is to have fun and enjoy family anyway, why do you think some have to do the extra, if that makes sense?
Oh, wow. You kind of cut out a little bit. Uh, it- why do I?
So when we talk about this, I call it the Hallmark hangover, where since this thing's supposed to go well and everyone says it's supposed to go well and feel good, why do you think some people go overboard in scripting it instead of allowing it to just be? Like, why do you think there's a pressure for everybody right now to be happy, smiles, everybody's supposed to act like family as well and things of that sort? Like, why do you think we put that pressure on each other?
A pressure just to pretend that everything is okay. I think is what.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable sometimes just to face reality. And not only is it uncomfortable, sometimes it's difficult. It's not easy, or at least on the surface we think that it's difficult, but in reality, what makes it difficult is ignoring issues and the pretending. So yeah, I think in our minds, we kind of think it's easier just to kind of maybe live in a state of denial and pretend that everything is okay. There's sometimes the belief that if you just act like everything is okay, then things are okay.
Hmm.
So I think a lot of times we're just uncomfortable with uh, reality, I believe.
Mm. Now, this next question, I think we can do a whole podcast episode within itself on, but I want to ask you anyway to just peer into your mind. What role do you think society plays on that? You know, from the music, from what we see on TV, from what we, sometimes see in other parts of our family. You know, if we're church go, like everything is so perfect. What role do you think that plays in adding on to that pressure of
Absolutely.
have to kind of
Yeah.
have to assimilate at some point in time?
Yeah, that's a good point. I talk a lot about social media and its influence on our mental wellness. And so, um, yeah, when people post on social media, everybody's happy. You have these beautiful dinner plates, everything is perfect, the table set just right, the trees beautiful, the home. And so, of course, people show their best, right? That you don't
Mhm,
see the dysfunction, you don't see um, the not so good moments. So I think,
mhm,
yeah, it from that aspect, yeah, we feel like okay, then that's what life should look like for me. And so we try to perform to that. And but yeah, we I'd say all the time we have to only give a little bit of uh, you know what we see on social media is not necessarily what that is, and so we just have to keep that in mind. We're only looking at snippets of or a moment in time. But yeah, you're right. Not just social media, but the commercials. I mean,
mhm.
everybody is happy for the holidays. So yeah, so we often feel pressure to live up to those messages that are put out there.
Right. And just to put it in context with the audience, again, we're not saying that there's anything wrong with this, right? Like, I mean, hopefully every day, you live life with the happiness, but there is some context to where it becomes toxic, just like in a relationship or any other relationship where you cannot manufacture and generate genuine happiness to where it's forced, right? Or it's manipulated. And I think that's what we're talking about during the holiday season. It's not everybody's reality. Kind of like you were saying, Nichelle, it's almost like a silent competition when it comes to social media, right? Like
Right.
if I post this, I gotta post that, and it's like, you could be just competing with filters, right?
Right.
Or whose camera
Right.
is better. That could not even be the reality. The sad reality of it is, and then the thing that I often think about is like, remember when I said earlier, creating celebrating moments instead of memories. If everyone gets to share this memory with you, how special is it? Right? Like what's
Right.
left for you and yours, right?
Right.
If how much is too much? I guess that's my thing. If the season's supposed to be about coming together as family and friends, and people I haven't seen in so long, if I'm so busy, putting filters and just putting it out there, the sad reality of it is, audience, there's people out there who don't have it, who cannot do it, who's lost loved ones. We'll talk about that a little bit more. That changes the narratives or brings back memories around those times to where there's a void. And so, how can two things be true at one time? And we can have the conversation for both. Um, how do you feel? Why do you, uh, why do we feel, well, I can't talk tonight. Why do you think we feel like failures if holidays isn't cinematic? Like if it isn't great? Like I've literally heard people, Nichelle, like if I can't get the tree and this and that, and a lot of times you hear, I mean, you hear it more in relationships, any relationship, which is that's kind of sad. But you hear a lot of people justify when it comes to children.
Right.
Hey, I'm not a good parent if I don't, and I think that's scary to
Right.
base, I'm gonna say it, to base your whole parenthood on a few days or a day or so. But why do you think, or where do you think it comes from, where some of us feel like failures, not even in just having the day and normalizing the day or days that we celebrate, but if it's just not this grand cinematic thing like we see, like you say, in some of these other spaces.
Yeah, that would be something I would change. And it briefly did come to mind, and I
Okay.
think it left my mind. But yeah, especially when it comes to Christmas, that's one thing that I would change is really making the holiday about what it's supposed to be about, and not the gifts and getting and lots and gifts. And I think that would alleviate the pressure that you're speaking when parents believe that they're a failure if they don't buy the kids these expensive gifts and tons of gifts. So that would probably be one thing that I would definitely change. But
Okay.
again, it goes back to what you mentioned earlier. It's kind of what we've always seen as normal, and there is no normal when it comes to um, holidays, right? But it's kind of what we've seen all our lives on commercials. Um, you see, the ads are really, really in your face. You see these cards with these bows, uh,
Hmm.
you know, wrapped around it, and so, yeah, so that's kind of how we are as people. We're um, very, very influential and easily influenced. So when we see something over and over and over again, unconsciously, we, with the way the brain works, we tend to um, take on an unsaid message that okay, that's what life is supposed to be like, and so
Hmm.
I think that's because it's just everywhere.
Yeah. As I was researching this topic, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it reminded me of a point I used to talk to people about, how sometimes we justify manipulation when we have a good outcome, but it's still manipulation. It's still wrong, right? You know,
Mhm.
you can manipulate a kid into doing what you say, but is that a good thing to do? Well, it's still
Mhm.
manipulation, right? And so I think
Mhm.
sometimes we can try to assign a good trait to a bad act.
Mm.
I think in the end, like when the proof comes out in the pudding, so to speak, it's like you still have something that's negative because it wasn't built on a, on a good foundation. And so, um, but yeah, there's a lot of influence out there. And I think because of it's a good time and these are good intentions, I think we sometimes can blind ourselves or turn a blind eye to the wrong processes that we have. I
Mhm.
want to talk about another ideology that we accept during the holiday time. Where again, if you just join us, holiday toxicity. Uh, when it goes beyond the fun and laughter, right? Yeah, we want to have fun and enjoy our friends and family and things of that sort. But then I think there's a separate conversation in there to where there's overboard and there's a group of people that we don't get to hear from. And so at first we talked about the Hallmark hangover, right? Where everything got to be happy and fun and things of that sort when the reality is not. But the next one I call the nostalgia filter. And I think this is, I thought about this the other day when someone like asked me, like, is there any tradition that you still hold on to, since you was a kid and things of that sort? And sometimes, Nichelle, I used to feel prone to have to script that. But that
Mm.
nostalgia filter is like I have to fake like it was always good. So I have something
Mm.
on the brain. And I'm transparent. It wasn't that way in my household. Like
Right.
transparently, we grew up piss poor. Like a holiday was a bonus, right? Like trying to get something to eat every day was like literally like it was a normal day. And so the holiday people were giving that time. So I guess you could say that was for tradition. You're probably going to have people who are more understanding, right? Coming from
Right.
a household of seven, five of us and my mom and dad. So
Mhm.
what traditions can I be honest about without being looked at crazy and things of that sort that I could say that I held on from a nostalgic standpoint? Well, really, I'm thankful, that, my family and I are not in that situation. But I wanted to see if you had anything to speak to where um, that toxicity comes into where we force people to have good memories or good thoughts when that wasn't the reality of how they grew up.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily even just tied to holidays. I think
Mhm,
um, sometimes people are just uncomfortable with, like I said before, the reality of the situation. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, a lot of times, you are viewed as negative or messy just for speaking your truth and your reality.
mhm,
Because it's not all roses. And if any, you know, person would be honest, we all have aspects of our lives that are not all roses. And so,
mhm,
um, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of in general. Some people tend to just not want to hear the real again, which is why again I commend you for bringing this forward because not all memories surrounding the holidays are happy memories. I mean, I work with clients all the time who dread the holidays.
mhm,
It's actually the worst time of the year for them. So, what may be the happiest moment for one person can be the worst for others. So,
mhm.
um, and that's just life.
Yeah, and that's why I say I think that it's okay that two things could be true at the same time. It's like
Mhm.
another person's bad reality does not have to negate your positive, right? And I think a lot of times it becomes guilty and it exposes these some people out here who are faking within themselves, but I'll digress on that. But I think the reality of it is that we have to allow people to live in their truth. And I
Yes.
think that if it doesn't measure up to my reality, and yours could have been fine, but I would like to think if we ask an honest question or a genuine question, then we would want a genuine answer. Because it is a lot of pressure, as you allude to what do I feel? Oh, I can't say that, right? Like, well, who really want to know that? Well, if I say that, how would you look at me? Like, it is a lot of pressure around these times because usually there's more of a focus on this time. Usually you're going to
Right.
get that question. What are your traditions? How was it in your family? And sometimes even families, like you were there. Like, what do you mean? Like they have this.
Right.
And so my notes say, I want to read this verbatim. It says, now that we are the adults, we are chasing a ghost. And
Mm,
I thought that was so powerful. It's like we have lied to ourselves so long to where we're now telling ourselves things that wasn't like that. And it's like, that didn't happen that way, right? And we pass that down to kids and, little ones and whatnot. And before you know it, it's like that never happened. That was like a ghost. That wasn't a real person there, right? So that nostalgia filter, I think, sometimes evade again the opportunity to capture real moments, right? Because we're trying to fake and shake and things of that sort, or downplay, trying to reminisce on a past that, quite frankly, wasn't there.
and there's a term for
Um,
that actually. Not to cut you
okay,
off.
go ahead.
Toxic positivity is the term that I mean, you just
Mm,
described it perfectly. And that's where people feel pressured to pretend everything is okay. But I mean, there's toxicity attached to pretending that everything is okay. So, yeah,
and what is that term again?
toxic positivity.
Toxic positivity. So if y'all note takers out there, if y'all want to circle back, man,
Yeah.
definitely do your research. And like I said from the onset, we're talking about holiday toxicity when it goes beyond the fun and laughter. Again, we're not dampening on this time of the season. I know I'm gonna be fat, full cheering for my Cowboys on Thursday, but what we're trying to do is have a conversation that's often left out. And there is a sector of people. Matter of fact, as we continue talking, I'll tell you my story if time permits. There is a group of us out there that has to walk this fine line at a time where it's supposed to be normal, and it's just not normal for us, right? Like there are other feelings and emotions and thought processes that come with it. And like Nichelle said, we're caught between this crux of, am I necessarily raining on your parade versus am I just telling my truth, right?
Right.
Or can I tell my truth? I got to live through these days every year. They
Right.
come all the time. And
Right.
so the last point I want to point out up on the phase one is, and as you alluded to it, that performative happiness.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think you pointed that out. So if you have anything else to add on that, but one thing I want to read from my notes, it says two things. Says the toxic societal expectation that you must be cheerful during December, right?
Yeah.
Because we cramp all these holidays together. Like after October, post Thanksgiving, we just get a turkey for Thanksgiving and Christmas here, right?
Right.
But it's like we're forced as a society that because it's December, right? Everything smiles.
Yeah.
Lord forbid, you got people who lost loved ones on these holidays, who has
Absolutely.
birthdays on these days that are no longer with us. There were matriarchs and patriarchs for these holidays, right? Like you just can't do some things the same. And here we go as a society just to make sure that I get to have my season and my feelings, which you're owed that, but to force people to put a smile on your face is December.
Right.
Um, and then how forcing a smile can actually increase burnout and resentment. I
Yes.
really wanted you to, if you had anything on that, why is this conversation important, right?
Yeah.
To force people to smile at a time where they're healing, where they're
Yeah.
crying, right?
Yeah.
Where they're hurting. How
Right.
does that add on to increase the burnout and the resentment, you think?
I love that. Yeah, that's a very, very good topic because, I say all the time, sometimes people just need you to be with them where they are, right? It's not about saying, oh, you should be happy or you should be, especially around Thanksgiving. You're like almost forced to only focus on being thankful because of course that is what Thanksgiving it's all about. However, like you said, two things can be true at once.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, you can be thankful but you can also be triggered, and you can um, feel those feelings that are not good feelings or happy feelings. And so I think people need to realize that instead of forcing or expecting that performative happiness, it's okay to say, I know this is a difficult time for you, and just be with the person, as opposed to trying to force them to be in a state that they're not in. Because when a person is forced to smile and not really feel their feelings, it does create resentment and it does create burnout, and that person feels drained. And so, a lot of times, where if they were kind of given the space to just be where they are, um, they might actually be able to come around and enjoy, the
Mm-hmm.
holiday, if they were just given that moment and that permission, so to speak. So, um, but yeah, and holding that in and pretending is exhausting. It really is. And so,
Mm-hmm.
um, allowing people to feel their feelings, I think, is the biggest thing
Mm.
that would really go a long way. Because most of us, I mean, we're resilient, and I mean resilient from minute to minute.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you can have a moment of where you're sad and you're depressed, but just having someone with you in that moment, and be accepting, um, positions that person to be able to kind of move past that, and then get on with enjoying the moment.
Man, as I was going through this, like I just felt like there were so many topics that really lends itself to have a whole space within itself to talk about.
Yeah.
Nichelle, I never forget. It was around the holiday time, and I was dealing with the loss of my father, who left us here in 2019. And I remember this person telling me, "Hey, don't be sad. You think about the good memories and all those things. That's what you think about. Do your dad this?" And here's my thing. I'm a firm believer. If my son was on here, he would say this verbatim because I always use this phrase: "Right idea, wrong process." I think a
Mhm.
lot of times we reward ourselves for the right idea, so we justify and overlook the nuances of the process. Like the process could be screwed up, right? You can have a great idea, but it doesn't mean the process is right. And I think when the person at the time was telling me that, I understood that they probably genuinely had the right idea,
Oh
but
yeah.
I just thought that that process, as I thought about it, was counterproductive because as I remember, quick story. Anyone who knows me know I love grilling, and I get that love from my father. And so I remember grilling a turkey for the first time from the memory of my father. Now, keep in mind, we grew up poor. So it wasn't necessarily my father was grilling a turkey because of Thanksgiving. It was just around that time people gave stuff away. So that was a meal. It just so happened to fall. So again, how can you my memory is not on Thanksgiving per se like that. If I'm honest, it's
Right.
on, hey, daddy got a turkey. We're eating. This is my first time seeing him do this. And he's also teaching me as a little man. So that's where my joy come from, right? And
Right.
so now to see myself doing it, in my own space, yeah, there is some hurt memory, some missed memory there.
Of course.
But again, you don't get to tell people that because, again, as we talk about some of that toxic traits found in the holiday season, we're forcing people to live our perfect reality. Or if it didn't happen to them, hey, this is what you should do. That's just not
Right.
everybody's
Oh,
reality, right?
absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
I never will forget that. And so it just goes to show. I love the way you said it. Allow people to feel their feelings.
Right.
It's not going to be an indictment to you. Matter of fact, I love what you even said also, that sometimes it can allow a person to come in that space. Okay, if you want
Right.
someone to go along and be alone, you give them permission by acknowledging that which they're dealing with first,
Right.
not the fact or either or, because some things
Right.
you just can't just throw away, right?
Right.
Um, Phase two, we've been talking about it, is we've been talking about a holiday toxicity, Nichelle. But we want to talk about now the family dynamic. Now, this is the one I feel like, man, I believe the reason why we don't talk about this because we practice loyalty more than love in our black families, particular. But I'm a digress with that one. You can run and shout later. But let's get into this just a little bit. The family dynamics, the core conflict. The most common source of toxicity often comes from those that we love or we're related to, right? Like it's one thing, hey, hi, Merry Christmas, a happy holiday. Well, that's I can move past that. But now when it's the forced dinners, the forced come
Right.
over so and so's place. We're all meeting over here. When I don't like that, well, should I speak to that person? That person don't mess with me, but they mess with that. Or if you have in-laws, like it can go on and on and on. And it's really around this thing that we call family. People we supposed to love. Can you speak to either why that is so, or some things that you think prevent us from having honest conversation as to we're trying to sidestep and navigate, quite frankly, family around these times?
Right. Yeah. Kind of like I said before, my experience has revealed that most of toxicity is it stems from family dynamics, and so and around the holidays, it kind of really comes to a head because I say all the time that when we have these family gatherings, things can tend to blow up because you have a room full of dysfunction. So, a lot of times we can kind of get by throughout the year because you're not face to face with those triggers. You're not face to face with Uncle Jimmy who touched you when you were 5. And
Mm,
so, everybody is in one room, and so it's hard to kind of turn a blind eye. But and then it's a sensitive time as well for so a lot of times you're dealing with loss. The triggers from losses throughout the years. So tension is high, emotions are high, um, and so when you put all those factors in one room, sometimes things just don't go well. So,
right,
yeah.
right. As I was thinking about this topic, and even as I was listening to you, I think if we're not careful, we have to also admit that usually around these times in certain spaces, the mental stability and mental wellness of families are actually exposed,
Mm-mm. Oh, yeah.
right? Um, there's a term in my research. It says we're never talking about this thing, so to speak, but we're now confronted with these people and we can't talk about it now, so we got to act. So really
Mhm,
there's a regression into almost there's a clash, if you will.
mhm.
And I think a lot of times, and again, I can only speak, in our black culture, a lot of time we think because it's happened in the past, it's not affecting now. To your
Right,
point, for example, if something happened when you were a child, you're a grown up, you need to get over it. It's like
right,
that could be the danger. That could be the
right,
very danger of the regression psychologically, is that I've been living with this and
right,
coming here performing around this time at a time where, guess what? We already said what December, wear your smile, so to speak. Like
right.
I think sometimes, can we be honest with ourselves to say, again, two things can be true, celebrate the holiday and whatever. But man, when do we really want to start healing as a family so we can have
Yeah,
some authentic and genuine spaces in these holiday times, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Um, the next one I want to talk about is the unsolicited commentary, and I think this is very important, especially with my holiday that's coming up on Thursday. Um, look, I'm a I'm a very sarcastic person. I like having fun and jokes and things of that sort. But as I've gotten older, I've matured to realize that even if that's my personality, people have real feelings. People have real emotions, right? And so that shouldn't be at the expense of me feeling good about my jokes, right? And
Right.
so I wanted to intentionally bring this part up and kind of just weigh in some of your advice, or how do we navigate the unsolicited commentary that's oftentimes found in family to where they feel they have permission. For example, when it comes down to weight and heat and eating habits, why are you gaining so much?
Oh,
Why are you going for seconds? Or when it comes to relationship status, are you, hey, you still single?
oh,
Career choices or financial status. It's like
yeah.
sometimes family feel, joking or not, like that's not right. Like that's not the time and place to put someone on Front Street. And sometimes it becomes the running thing to where I gotta smile and laugh at myself. Can you
Right.
speak to that in any capacity that you want to? But I want to make sure we got in, because here is come Thanksgiving, where I know there are times where, hey, I'm my plate gonna be loaded up, you know.
Right.
But within that dynamic, there are some toxic traits in there where we're shooting off and putting people on Front Street that we say we love, not realizing the damage that we could be doing to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking about when I was a kid. Well, not even as a kid, really. Kid, teen, young adult. Now I'm over it. But we would have these gatherings, and I have a few of my aunts. The first thing they would say, "Girl, you still ain't put on no weight," and it's to this day, it's one of my big pet peeves when people feel like it's okay to make comments on people's weight. And so I did a post on that a few months ago, because it kept coming up in my therapy sessions.
Mhm,
And people lose and gain weight for all sorts of reasons, and we need to be
mhm,
cognizant of that. A person can be ill, you never know.
mhm.
And my sister was the opposite. They would tell her, "Oh, girl, you sure putting on some weight." Nobody really wants to hear those type of things.
Right.
But boundaries is the first thing that came to mind when you
Mhm,
started bringing this part up. So we have to realize it's okay to set boundaries even with family members. Okay. Boundaries are not reserved for just people who are not family. So go into the family gathering knowing that I know I'm going to have to set some boundaries, and be
mhm.
prepared to set those boundaries. And oftentimes you can predict exactly
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
what the boundaries will have to be regarding. And so I always
Mhm,
say being prepared is the best um, way to really go into these situations. So anytime you can um, be prepared beforehand, it makes it a lot easier, so that you don't feel like you are caught off guard. They
yeah,
try to ask you
yeah.
about your relationship. You know, I'm not discussing that today. And leave it at that.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
when you're invited to
mhm.
conversations that you don't want to talk about, remember, conversations go two ways. So, a person can
Mhm.
only um, engage if you engage. So you can disarm a lot of things through silence. So silence is a response. So,
Mhm,
somebody asks you
mhm.
something that you feel uncomfortable answering, you can simply say, "I'm not answering it," and go silent.
Yeah. And look, let me say this, and I think that was some excellent feedback, right? We don't have to go the overboard with the anger and the cursing and
Right.
all of that.
Right.
But those healthy sense of boundaries, as you should do anywhere you go. I
Mhm.
would also include in that sometimes it's okay. Give yourself permission to uninvite yourself if
Right.
you know that those boundaries aren't respected, because sometimes people think that family gives permission,
Right.
right? It gives an access, and so no matter what boundaries, oh well, okay. Well, sometimes you have to uninvite yourself, and I think that's another conversation as we talk about traditions. Um, I have a statement I want to say where it said tradition is not a valid excuse for disrespect.
Mm. Yeah.
I want to say it again. Tradition is not a valid excuse for disrespect. I love Big Mama and them and Uncle Joe I haven't seen forever, but that tradition will miss me that year because it does not validate me staying in a place um, where disrespect is tolerated. And I am a very firm believer with that. And so that's why I was talking about earlier. Yeah, we create memories, but what type of memories is that to create? Now, I'd rather capture moments, right? To where, hey,
Mhm.
we're respecting each other's boundaries and things of that sort. And to your point, I'm not caught off guard where I feel like I have to force a conversation, or now I'm kind of like the spectacle in the room, so to speak. So again, understand the tradition. Tradition is not a valid excuse for disrespect. Nichelle, I definitely want to get your opinion on this factor here, the alcohol factor. How increased alcohol consumption at either parties or family function act as gasoline on an already smoldering family tension. And so um, I don't I don't think people realize in certain spaces how much they can contribute. Yes, it's up to a person and they were supposed to be responsible for their consumption. But can you talk a little bit about how dangerous it is when all these things are done and people are masking it with alcohol? Well, now you got that component in there. It's almost kind of like a fire with gasoline on it. Can you talk about that? Because I think a lot of times in family, we don't even think about that until after the fact. And Lord forbid something happened crazy or whatnot. And now, why did little Johnny act that way? And it's like, well, you're already doing this and talking about this, and now we got the alcohol in there, right? Because we like our spirits, and
Right.
it's almost like a dynamite that's just burning down.
Absolutely. Alcohol is definitely a factor. And that's one of my special interests as well. I am a uh, you know, considered an addictions expert. And so yeah, alcohol lowers your inhibitions. So things that you might have been thinking all year and been able to kind of hold back and not say. When you add alcohol in a room full of people, you tend to care less. And so, um, yeah, I tell people sometimes you know that one person that you might need to um, keep away from the alcohol, or at the very least, limit their drinks. So there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're hosting and it's your home. So don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to say, look, this is my home, and we're not doing that. And so whatever you need to do to protect your peace is
Yeah.
what needs to happen. And peace is not something that you give away due to the holidays.
Oh my goodness. And I was just thinking, just to from a literal standpoint, use it on those days, you know, just from the safety standpoint. You're
Yeah.
speaking more from the emotional safety, but even the physical safety, getting on the road, if you're traveling, if you're going to watch that new movie, if you're going from home to home, something like this that we don't think about, right? Like, we know it's there and it's going to be prevalent. But I think, again, like we said from the onset, because we want everybody to wear their smiles, well, everyone is not wearing their smile based on the libation of their choice. They could be masking the very thing that's happening around, and Lord forbid they go get behind the wheel or say something, or they cannot handle it. And now you have a memory that um,
You didn't. Yeah.
you wish you didn't have, right?
Yeah.
You guys, if you're joining us, we are talking on the topic holiday toxicity. When it goes beyond the fun and laughter, and of course, at this time of holiday season, where Thanksgiving and Christmas is around the corner, we wish everyone have a happy holiday and happy time. But we did want to lend ourselves to the conversation of some of the toxic traits that you may find guised or hidden in the holiday season. And so we've been talking about a number of things, and now we've talked about some of those things in our family setting that we probably don't talk about, or we probably omit or downplay, that can create toxicity, even in a time where everybody's supposed to have their smiles. And so we have the wonderful Dr. Nichelle Chandler here, who has been lending us some gems, if you will. Like, the topic actually came from, so I'm glad again that you were able to come and give your expertise. One of the final topics I want to talk about, because we can go on and on with this, is the financial toxicity.
Mm.
And I think this is the one because of my profession. I work with people and their indecisions or bad decisions, or just sometimes life decisions, to where they're in a financially strapped place. Um, and so I see this up close and personal, and this is one that's very near and dear in my heart. Um, the stress of spending money we don't have to impress people we might not even like.
Ooh.
Right? Everybody got to get a gift. I don't even like your little nappy head kids, first of all, but okay. Let me go
Right.
on and, you know what I'm saying? Let me go on because it's the right thing to do. I'm uncle, so I supposed to be, but they bad as hell. They come over here jumping on my couch and everything. And I'm supposed to just, but I think there is a serious undertone, Nichelle, to where we force ourselves or force people who don't have it. Let's just be honest. Like bills come every 30 days, so on and so forth. And for this one day, the looks, the image, like December 26th, Lord forbid, like it won't come.
Right.
And we live with it and we are okay. Like we're starting to, I'm not big on New Year resolution, but I digress. Like we start a new year, a new chapter, struggling for one day, and then usually stuff is old like that.
Exactly.
But it's for people that we don't even like. Could you speak to your either experience, your thought process on the financial toxicity that we just find prevalent? And I look, and this is not even just in just some people. I think even people, do what you do with your own money, but even sometimes when we're well off,
Right.
there's just this just senseless waste, quite frankly.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just heightened during the holiday seasons because those same individuals have the tendency to um, they have the same behaviors throughout the year. I can guarantee you that person who's you know, being financially irresponsible during the holidays, I guarantee you they are the other months of the year as well. It's
Mm,
just you know, related to the holidays, you know, during Christmas. And so, again, it's just kind of, in, you know, what, keeping up with the Joneses, I guess is a, you know, a good way of stating it. Yeah. And a lot of times people's value, unfortunately, is tied to what things, material things, right? And so there's a deeper issue there.
yeah.
You know, when people kind of struggle in that area, and a lot of times it goes back to low self worth. You know,
Mm,
and so that's why self worth is everything. You know,
mm,
yeah, you can dig yourself in a huge financial hole trying to keep up with the Joneses, you know. And a lot of times, what people don't realize is the people that they're trying to keep up with, they're in a big financial crisis themselves. So, um, but again, it really is a matter of having self, you know, a high level of self worth, because when you do, you realize that, I mean, your worth is not tied to material things. And so
yeah.
you're not going to drive yourself to the poorhouse trying to impress someone else or keep up with the next person.
Right.
So there's a deeper issue there. In those situations, there's always a deeper issue.
Right, right. No, there are three components I want to hit on, and if I could answer my last question, I said I would. One thing I would take away would be uh, the lack of genuineness. To make a long story short, and I think the one topic, the monetization of love.
Oh,
Um, I think that would be another one. Like where I'm gonna say it, it's my podcast, right? Like the arrogance of I'm owed
hmm,
a gift, right?
right.
I won't even go to the spiritual side. That's why I was trying to think. I'm like, okay, I don't want to go that deep.
Hmm.
we all like gifts, right? Like nothing wrong with that. And if you choose to do that at that time, fine. But I think we can practice a little bit more humility to where I'm old, to where
Mhm.
now the love, whether it's relationship, whether it's mother, father, whatever, familial or whatever, there is a certain expectation because of who I am.
Mhm.
Right? It's
Right.
not enough that we're in the same space. Hey, I thought about you. I was walking the mall, saw someone online, and hey, I feel this
Right.
genuinely. No, now, like I was telling you, when we were debriefing, it's now almost, Nichelle, we tell each other, and I'm going to say this for the people in the back. We tell each other what we want for Christmas. Go wrap it up. Wait until the 25th. Unwrap it with the surprise as if we don't know we got what we said we wanted. And we act surprised. Now, kids, I could see during that time, but grown adults, hey, what you want? You want that new bag? Or no, yeah, I'll get it for you for Christmas. And but we're creating memories behind this. So again, I'm gonna let you come your own way. The monetization of love, the belief that the value of a relationship is directly correlated to the price tag of the gift. What say you, or what do you have to say
I have
on
personal
that?
experience with that, and I just never understood it. An individual I'm very close with, and that's what they do in their family. They actually hand each other a list of things that they want for Christmas, and when they open them up on Christmas, everybody is surprised. And it just never felt right for me. But yeah, I get what you're saying. And then a lot of times you have these situations where if they feel like the gift didn't cost enough, they're actually offended.
Yeah,
Whereas
like they would
for me,
actually get mad, argue, break up. Like
right. And I'm
you're
like
cool.
you. For me, it's like something thoughtful. Even it could cost $1, or two. But yeah, again, that's to me kind of having your values misplaced.
Hmm.
It's kind of what that boils down to. Um, but yeah, but it works for some families. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And again, we're not playing Scrooge here. Like whatever works in your household, let it work. But because we live in a community, I think these are good things to think about. You know, or if you know someone in your family that's dealing with these things, sometimes these things, again, we don't have the opportunity to talk about these things without offending people. So we're just trying to normalize the conversation as we always do on UKQP. Nichelle, what about the comparison culture? I think you talked about this early on top of the show. The stress of trying to match the gift energy of the wealthier family members. We usually have certain people in our families that are more well off than others. And again, growing up, just being transparent, I was on that opposite side. I know that feeling of this probably the best $2 gift you can get. Like you went out your way for this. Like
Right.
I saved up and everything for this, and there is an energy around this time to where I got a whole car with a bow tie outside. And it's kind of like Jesus Christ, what I'm gonna do with this gift right here? I didn't get nothing. You know what I mean? I forgot. Like, but that's some
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
And
some
what people
real.
don't realize is, I mean, that's like a point, like a 1% of the world's population where cars are actually
You're right.
a realistic, gift. But you see it plastered all over TV, and so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And if I could speak, we talked about parenting. Again, I think we see this in a sad case. I know I do, because I do a lot of volunteer work around this time. And look, man, teach his own, man. We all wanna do well for each other as family time, and this time does put a little bit more pressure on us. But we're just talking about those extremes are going on our way.
Right.
Again with kids, it's like, well, I want my kid to have what I didn't have. I think it's some fundamentally flawed with that statement. Again, I think it's one of them things right out there, wrong process, and we don't have enough time to go into it. But it's like at the expense of what?
Right.
I think that's
Exactly.
a fair question. Okay, right? Like, no, it's no rule book to raising kids, but at the expense of what? Right? Like,
Right.
if this means my James don't live with me, but the point is still the same. If this means that no lights in the house, or now we eating ramen, no, we had a fat turkey
Right.
given, but now the rest of the month or two we're down ramen. They're like at the expense of what? And I think sometimes, again, with everyone, but especially we as a culture, we have to be okay with asking ourselves real questions and be okay with coming back with a real answer. Okay, I
Right.
want a gift and I want to do that for this person, but at the expense of what?
Yeah. And a lot of times it goes stems from our childhood, right? Parents want to be able to give their kids things that they were not able to
Hmm.
have as a kid. And so they have all these, feelings of guilt surrounding not being able to give them, all of these things. But um, it's about keeping things in perspective, right? Like you said,
Yeah,
at what expense? Yeah. And a
yeah.
lot of times, what parents don't give enough credit to the fact that kids are, more understanding than we give them credit for. If you just be
Oh
open,
yeah.
honest.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. We set that foundation, I think, way more indirectly.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's a conversation that just needs to be had, and hopefully, what if our audience is following us, that if we're having real conversation, there is some toxicity built into this time of the year within this season, right? And this is not to cascade on anybody, and say, because I know if I told my story right now, like y'all probably turn the podcast off. But it's okay to have these conversations, or at least to, as you and I said, Nichelle, before we came on, with those who allow us to, right?
Right.
This is not going to be the popular conversation, right? This is not going to be the popular conversation over the Cowboys game or over playing dominoes or whatever your tradition is. But I do think there is a sector of people out there that could be right in your circle of your loved ones that is waiting, like Nichelle said, to give permission to where they can exhale and say, okay, man, I've been wanting to say this, talk
Mhm.
about this, or shed light on this. Especially when we talked about that shooting the dozen, talking about weight, careers, and relationships, and now you kind of the butt in that joke every year.
Here.
But you're so loyal because you're asked to come, and hey, your
Right.
family and whatnot. And to now new people in the family being added on, and now they looking at you. So now it's understood that you're kind of the
Oh,
punching line, the
yeah.
punchline of the, when things get quiet, you're the, like, really think about that. I know that feeling, just to be honest,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So we have to have real conversation about this. The last one that I'm gonna speak on, and I'll get us out of here, is the January 3 dread. And I think we talked about this. Okay, I've had my fat turkey. I went out and I've matched everybody's energy on gifts and things of that sort. Not looking at my pocketbooks. I probably ain't had turkey no time in the rest of the year. I went out and had me a 25-pound turkey and only ate a drumstick off of it. Now it's December 26th. 5 days for a new year. It's not December with the smiles anymore, Nichelle.
Right.
No, you put those smiles up. Everybody's back to, they put the holiday season in their suitcase in their drawer,
Yep.
and the anxiety of knowing a credit card bill is coming that will
Oh, yeah.
will warn the first of the month of the new year. Some bills, some deals we make,
Uh-huh.
things we plan, whatever those real decisions are. We're back to reality, Nichelle.
Yeah. Yeah. The aftermath of those
Yeah,
decisions. Yeah.
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 Um, what is some advice? I don't want to feel like I'm putting you on the spot, but what is some advice you would give? What was some advice you would give me if I'm sitting here today saying, "Hey, I want to avoid the January dread"? It's November 25th. What, 2 days, a day or so before Thanksgiving? Michelle, I
Yeah.
want to avoid the January dread. What are some tips you would give me?
It goes back to planning, right? Be prepared. If we're talking financially, look at your finances and see what you can realistically afford to shove out.
Mhm.
And if what you can afford does not sit well with someone, then you have to just remind yourself that that's about them. That's not about you.
Yeah.
Because when that credit card bill comes, that you are going to be, your name is on it. So
Mhm.
just reminding yourself that, I'm going to have to live with whatever the consequences of the decisions that I make in November and December. So come December and January, you get those bills. So, but planning is the thing that comes to mind. So knowing exactly what you can afford and reminding yourself that your worth is not tied to what you can do for others and give others. That's a really, really big one, especially with Black women. We're conditioned to think that our worth is tied to what we can do to please other people.
Mm.
So again, that's why I'm a big proponent of therapy, because if you're in therapy on a regular basis throughout the year, these holiday issues that tend to arise, they don't hit as hard because you've been doing the work all year, and so you're prepared. So um, a lot of it is just it stems from things that we need to work on internally throughout the year so that they don't become a problem
Yeah.
on the holidays. So yeah.
I think those are excellent points. I love the fact, of course, let's get some help. Like we're not sitting here again castigating on people. Like, no, we some of this stuff we need help with. Right?
Hmm.
It's okay to get a professional, lay on that couch, or whatever you have to do. Because again, a lot of this stuff is not talked about in our circles, right? It's not talked about in the circles. And a lot of times, quite frankly, not all family members have the open mindedness to be
Right.
able to even engage these conversations, right? And so
Right.
I think also normalizing that it's okay to not be okay. You don't
Yeah.
have to have this cinematic theme, if you will, to your holiday season, whatever that looks like. To even think about the people who have to work on these days,
Right.
right? Like somebody have to be ready. Lord forbid, if I choke on the bone, somebody got to be ready to.
Right.
Like even thinking about that, like seriously, like
That's true.
some people got to get up,
Yeah.
and go on to work. It's time and that whatever they pay, but it's business as usual for them. They don't
Right.
get to sit around the holiday table thing there. So by the time they get home, they played in some foil or that Tupperware. If you like me, that Betty Crocker bucket, y'all don't know about that. That Tupperware. No, for real, it's in the
Yeah.
microwave. Hey, that's
It's true.
Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner. So it's so much that we can think about. Nichelle, I wanna do one more. Get your advice on one other thing before we get out of here because we didn't have time to talk about it. But it's one that's personal to me. Is when we talk about the loss of the loved ones, how that changes the dynamic. And I know that could open up a whole nother one. But I would
Yeah.
be remiss to
Grief.
get out of here
Yeah.
of to those who are watching this. On the flip side of why everybody's had, well, you had your mother still, your father still, your grandmother, grandma, your aunt, your uncle. You all, there are people who do not have that. In these times, although it's a great time with family and friend, they are a direct correlation of reminders of what they're missing. All
Yeah.
right. And again, it doesn't mean that cramp on your parade, but it's a clear reminder where everywhere you look, you see the matriarch or whatnot in the kitchen. And if I don't have my matriarch around, like that is weighing heavy on me. And so, and whatever you have to share on that topic, briefly in the shell, I would just want to give you an opportunity to do so.
Yeah. So, on a personal note, you mentioned that your father passed away in 2019, and my condolences to you. But
Yes.
I think we've kind of discovered that we have quite a few things in common, but that's yet
Mhm.
another thing we have in common. I lost my mom in 2019,
Mm.
and I can tell you that the holidays will never be the same for me.
Right.
They will always be bittersweet. And there's just no way around that. And so, it's something that people just need to keep in mind. I mean, like I
Yeah.
said at the start of the podcast, the holiday times can be a trigger for many people. I mean, you're gonna see those reminders all around you. So naturally, yes, some sad feelings are gonna come up when you've lost loved ones and they're no longer there. And so, just if people in general would just be sensitive to that, I think it would go a long way. And then, again, allowing people to feel their feelings and feel sad, and um, but knowing that they can also feel the joy and the happiness as well. Um, but yeah, it can be a trigger for sure for those of us who have lost people near and dear to us. So um, another thing is especially around Thanksgiving, we kind of forget that not everyone has family. So and I'm actually going to do a post on this very soon, but um, invite somebody over who who doesn't have family. Some people are, they live, away from their families, and so they don't get to have family. And some people literally just don't have family. And I know that reality seems so far-fetched, but it really is true. Some people just don't have family for whatever reason. So, and we know about this in many cases, but for some reason around the holidays, we don't think to say, "Hey, would you like to come over?"
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Man, those are some powerful sentiments right there. As you were speaking, I want to say this, and I say this very respectfully.
Mhm.
It is not your job to fix people that
Mhm.
deal with it, because there's none. It makes the assumption something's wrong with them. There's
Right.
nothing to fix. Okay, so
Right.
as you suggested, hey, inviting someone over, like it is a choice. Do we extend the courtesy? We say that's
Mhm.
what the season's for. So that is a choice, right? Some of us may not choose to do that, but it is a great thing to extend that courtesy.
Mhm.
But be very careful, especially in that family and close friend circle, to where we try to fix or
Right.
replace. No one can replace my father.
Right. Absolutely.
So don't even try, right? And I
Right.
think again, right idea, wrong process. Sometimes we go in and we see the sadness on James or the sadness on Nichelle, and definitely my condolences again to
Thank
your
you.
loss.
Yeah.
And we can try so well intentioned, Nichelle. Let me fix you and let me put
Right.
that smile on your face instead of saying
Right.
it's just okay, whatever space you in, it's okay.
Right.
What can I do
Right. Yeah.
in the meantime?
Mhm.
Right? Like
Mhm.
there's no fixing needed. Because one of the most hurtful things is when someone's going through in their own unique and genuine way, and you come with the mindset of trying to fix them as if it's something wrong to
Right.
invalidate real raw emotions,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I say that very respectfully. I think that that is well intentioned, and that's why I say the
Right.
intentions are there.
Right.
Let the counselors and let them do their job, right? Matter of fact,
Right.
redirect them into it. But a lot
Right.
of times, Michelle, that's my son and that's my mother, that's my sister. So I want and we and again I have to say this respect, we lean off a bunch of BS jargon
Mhm.
that really know, let's let them go get the people who studied this stuff and went to school, just like a doctor. Like I said, if I'm choking on a bone, yeah, you would try to give me the Heimlich, whatever, but call them folks.
Okay.
They know what they're doing. They went to school for this, they get paid for this. Call them folks. That's what you do to help me, right? Don't 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 take this time to try like you on CSI now. Don't let me be the crash dump. Now call them folks. It's okay.
Exactly.
And I think the same thing when it comes to people emotional stability or instability, call them folks. Hey,
Right.
I got a number discreetly. Hey, I heard this would be some help for you. Just want to kind of put that out there. It
Hmm.
don't have to be that big thing. Again, like we said, around the table at dinner and all that. Like, it don't have to be that. Do it discreetly. And like Nichelle said, some is simply people. There are some people who don't have family. Like all the time, people been asking me, Nichelle, what you gonna do for Thanksgiving? Do you know I just called my sister the other day because we didn't do it. Like I said, we didn't do holidays growing up, but when we lost dad, like it was so forced that it done more damage than good to where now it's a post check thing.
Mm.
So there is no consistent Thanksgiving. Oh yeah, we know it's really a post check, right? And this has been a good year. Thank God, my mother's been doing well and things of that. So, but sometimes for some people it is a day to day,
Right.
right? It's not that glamour or that cinematic thing that we put out on. Look, again, I say this all the time, Nichelle, but when you come on, I feel like, man, this could go forever. Like, I love the gems and the knowledge, and I love the fact that we get to peer inside your mind. I think it's needed and it's refreshing. And so, if I want to say it personally on the screen, that I greatly appreciate you joining me on this conversation, much needed conversation, very nuanced in some places, some jokingly, but I think on other ones more direct. And so I thank you for allowing me to navigate this and peering into your mind on the topic of holiday toxicity. When it goes beyond the fun and laughter, it is our hope and prayer that everybody through this holiday season enjoy themselves, get some rest, get some great food, make some memories, but also work on those things that you haven't worked upon. Find a
Yes.
starting place. It don't have to be a finish point. Just find a starting place, and sometimes just acknowledging and not acknowledging in the fact that everyone has to agree with you. Not even that person who did that wrong may agree with you, but
Right.
start giving yourself, like Nichelle said, that piece. And remember what we said: tradition is not a validation for disrespect. Even if up until the point you have to uninvite yourself, um,
That's right.
you are responsible for protecting your peace. And understand that the January dread, anything that I have to deal with negatively after December 25th is probably not worth me doing it before these holidays.
That's right.
That's just my humble opinion. If I got to live with negativity a little worse off mentally, physically, financially, spiritually, then I probably want to reevaluate before I put a piece of turkey in my mouth sitting here today. Is it really worth it? I probably
Right.
sit at home and eat me a ham sandwich in the shell before I go through that. You
Right.
know, I
Right.
still gotta live, right? There is life after December 25th.
Uh,
And I
yes.
want our people to start thinking about it, especially financial. We got this. I hate the term Black Friday, but I digress. Think
Ugh,
about these things, right? Going buying up a bunch of stuff that we don't need just because it's taxes off of it. It's you're not making a lot of savings, but I'm gonna get off my soapbox, right?
right.
But this has been the final episode of season 5, you guys. Like I feel like it's just going, and I don't think that there is another guest that we could have to do it with, and other than the Dr. Nichelle Chandler. And so again, we're going to take a hiatus. So you won't see any new shows, but trust me, you will be inundated with some of our old shows. We want to kind of dust off the dust off of those topics. I mean, we have some great content that we want you guys to get involved with. So make sure you go out there in your podcast world, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, so on and so forth. Like us, follow us, share us, man. Share some of these things with your loved ones. As Nichelle said, sometimes if we are not the best spokesperson for ourselves, find that mediator to at least start the conversation. And so, Nichelle, again, thank you so much for your time. I know this was short notice and you came through like a
Okay.
pro. And so if you would hang back after we end this. But again, I want to tell everyone, look, I personally thank everyone, whether it's one show, every show, through the hiccup, through the ups and downs. I want to take this time to personally thank all of our followers, even those who are not on social media. I watched the numbers that a lot of you guys are following and viewing in that's not even on social media. A huge thank you for joining in the conversation. We do get the inbox messages. We do get the comments, things of that sort. And so I thank you from the bottom of my heart. My hope and prayer that you guys continue to follow us next year until season 6. We definitely have some great things in store. for you guys. So I personally want to thank you guys before we sign off. But if there's anything else, Nichelle, do you have anything that you want to leave the people with from the topic or anything?
Like Jay said, feel free to follow me on all platforms under Dr. Nichelle, TikTok, Dr. Nichelle Therapy. And I invite you to take a look at if you're interested on some tips or some steps you can take to deal with holiday toxicity. My latest post gives you about 7 tips, but I just want to highlight one of them, and that's you're not moving in emotionally when you visit family for any of these holiday gatherings. So if you have to set a time limit, set a time limit.
Mm.
Your peace is paramount. So you want to make an effort to be there, but you might 2 hours might be your time limit because you have to protect your peace. So that's just
Mm.
one little gem. But um, yeah.
Man, as the old folks say, that'll preach right there. You're not me like, oh, that almost started me up. You're not moving it for a short time, not a long time. I like that one right there, man. I'm gonna have to go back and like that one.
Yeah.
But but yeah, man, this was a great conversation. Again, holiday toxicity, when it goes beyond the fun and laughter. You guys, again, thank you for joining us. If you are just joining us now, started with us in season 5, or since you've been season 1, again, I cannot thank you enough. Even to our new followers tonight and those seasoned vets. So, with that being said, I want to thank you all. Have a great holiday season. Be safe, be smart, and continue to love on each other. Y'all have a great
Happy
night.
holidays, everybody.